All right, so continuing on with our targeted questions. First one is how do I stop starting at zero every month?
Well, I'd say there's two ways. What because there's two ways to stop starting at zero, and depending what zero you're talking about. One is you're probably referring to money because that's what most people do. But the other thing that I would also say is that when people are selling stuff, they start over every month with like no sales, and of course you've got a little pipeline and that kind of thing. But we do two things. One is that I think regardless of what you sell, we like passive income. Personally, I would rather have build at $100 a month passive income than make 100,000 a year, right? I mean, you do the math. I'm at the end of the year. Well, let's do the math. At the end of the year, you've got 12. So every year you're giving yourself a raise of $14,400. I think it's if I'm doing the math right. So within a few years, I'm making my $100,000 a year, and then I can level off if I want. So what is it going to take me like 7, 8 years? And I'm making the 100 grand. Uh, and what kind of an odd little benefit that comes to that is that you don't make the 100 grand right off the bat, so you don't spend 100 grand. So you kind of grow up living below your means. Suddenly you make
Right.
100,000 a year in passive income or whatever the number is, and you're living at half that. So now you can put money into other things, and so I like passive income personally because of that. And at $100 a month, I'd figure out a way because that's a little long for me is to take 8 years to make 100 grand. But if then now we go to the other part, which is not having to start over every month with new sales and zero, and so we asked ourselves long ago, how would we have our phone ring as much as we want with people callings being referred to us, and when that happens, of course, or what we experienced is that we figured out how to build that to the point where we could do two, three, four times as much business when it's all inbound as it is when we are chasing down leads. We want people to call us. So how do you figure it? How do you figure it out? Because again, we're talking freedom, right? If our
Right.
objective is freedom, if it's freedom, then we ask ourselves different questions than people do when they're just working for, you know, working sake.
Right.
So how do we how fast can we build passive income? We go, all right, well then that means how fast and how many can inbound leads can I get coming in that are fat pitches that are easy to close? You don't have to chase. And so those are the questions that we ask. And then when you unlock those, when you answer those, it works. And it's a totally different um, way of thinking, and it's a totally different experience when you start unlocking it, unlocking it, unlocking it, unlocking it. So two things. One is we like passive income, so that starts you at not zero every month.
Hmm.
It's like you get all the money at the beginning of the month, and and then instead of hoping to get it throughout the month, you get it and then you add to it. So not only do you not start from zero, but next month you start at a bigger number next month than you did this month, and a bigger one, and bigger, bigger, bigger. So it's not just not zero; it's bigger every month. And then it's like, all right, how do you do that? How do you get a lot of that? How do you make that grow really fast? Is based on how many leads you can get calling you that
Right.
are friendly, fat pitches, easy to close. Yes. So that's it.
Yeah.
Two things: passive income and how many fat pitches can you build a system that sends you every month?
100%. What do you add to
Yep,
that? I mean, that's just what it is. It's
it
nice
is
when you
what it.
go,
Yeah,
because you see it, like you see it unfold, when you first start and you go, okay, I have X amount of bills per month. And then each month, I already know that X amount is covered. In John's analogy, if I increase it by $100 a month or whatever it looks like, it's like if I have a $400 a month car payment, well, then 4 months from now, I don't have to worry about where that money comes from. It just compounds. It's like compounded interest almost, and it's the
yeah,
only way.
yeah. It's one of the one thing that freaks people out, I think, about passive income is you start from zero,
Right,
where you can go out and you can go out and get a good job, right? And
right,
you're guaranteed to make money. When you start in a passive income deal, it's zero. And so so like how we do it, if you're going to make, let's just use 40 for easy math, $40 a month per account, passive income, and you write 5 accounts your first month. Well, you know, that's $200, right?
Right.
$200, and it's not coming until next month sometime because it's
Right.
passive. It hasn't even happened yet. So it
Right.
has to, and then so you're only making $200, yeah, a couple months or next month or the month after, however, wherever you are
Hmm.
in the month. So that's, but imagine, and if you only did that, and five isn't a great number, but imagine this is your first month and you're just figuring it out. Uh, I figured out how to write 20. Chuck figured out how to write 30. So you do the math on that, and I'm increasing. Let's just say between the two of us, the average would be 1,000. So you're increasing your passive income by 1,000, but still, I mean, which is a lot. So
Yeah.
if a couple months from now I finally make $1,000, the next month I make two, then the next
Hmm.
month I make three, and so on. The last month, uh, I'm making $12,000.
Hmm.
Like month 14, I'm making 12,000 a month. So now I'm at $144,000, whether I go to work or not.
Right.
But it's that first little hump, and that's why it's that freaks people out.
Hmm.
If they could just get past that, like have some sort of way to make enough money or have money, uh, like I worked in a factory at night. Uh, Chuck had a night gig. Both of us had night gigs while we built this during the day,
Oh,
and then it didn't take long, and we had enough money coming in that that day thing or that night thing could go away.
right.
But we had to figure it out because so many people, it's easy to miss, but a ton of passive income, it's easy to miss because of that front part where it's building and you're going, oh my God, I can't afford to do this. Well, hold on, you know,
Hmm.
yeah, uh, but if you do figure that out, you figure out the first, let's say 6 months, when you figure out the first 6 months of passive income and you're going after it very assertively and you're
Right.
really building, after about 6 months, 8 months, this is all that you need to do. But it's that first 6 8 months
Right.
that's you need to figure that part out. And if you don't figure it out, then you miss passive income, and whether it's 144,000 or
Right.
250,000 or whatever it is that means freedom to you financially, you miss all that. And most people, everybody wants passive income. Most people miss it because that when you start at zero and you build up, and it builds up crazy over time, but it doesn't build up crazy over a short amount of time. So this it's not a get rich quick deal, passive income. It's a get rich over time, and you want it to stick,
Right. But it's got long
kind of
legs on
deal.
it. When you do it that way
Holy
and you
cow, yeah,
decide that you don't want to do it anymore, if you go off for that $100,000 a year deal or 100 whatever it is, and when you're done, so's that. So that money
yeah,
goes bye-bye, right? And and you've probably raised your style of living to the point where you need to make that money. So with this, when you decide to quit, you still got it coming in. So it's like, okay,
yeah,
okay,
right,
what would you rather invest your time in? I'd rather take you know what, I would take, and it didn't take this long, I would take 3 years of pain to have that freedom at the end. I'd go, yeah, I'll
absolutely,
pay it. I'll pay that.
yeah,
Whatever it is, the emotional side, the work side, whatever, I'll do it because freedom is so, so valuable to be free. It's
yeah,
a game changer for sure. And I can only
and
see it passive income.
yeah, yeah. I don't have unless you're going to make without the only interest I have in things other than passive income are things that if I can make something really easily, doesn't take much time, and it's a
Right.
tremendous amount of money.
Yep.
Let's say my number internally is $500,000. If I can
Right.
make $500,000 and fast and easy, then okay. And
Sure.
I'm interested in that. But otherwise, no, I'll just stick to what I do and keep building, 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 building. Because that 500 grand isn't going to be passive, and I'm going to pay a mountain of taxes on it, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Uh, and if it's capital gains now, I just I just build passive income and just keep
Yep.
building it. And it gives and you wake up with choices too. You wake up and you go, okay, well, like you said, you said something to the effect of you can stop or whatever the case, or you have to keep working, or you have to keep working. That was what you said. If you're making this money and it's regular income, you've got to keep working to have it come in. You don't have any choice.
Right.
You gotta get up and go do it. Here you don't. You go, man, I just don't feel, I just don't want to. And you go,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
don't then, you don't have to. And you could go like, I just want to go, learn how to river dance in Ireland for a
Yeah.
month of really hardcore training. I could go do
Right.
that,
Right.
if I really wanted to. Or like you see a video over on FFUSA where one of the guys, Cam, says he sort of leans in and chuckles and goes, I could probably take 2 months off and still make $30,000. And
Right.
he's just sort of like it kind of in disbelief. Uh, which is that's kind of how it feels. Is like, wow, this is nice.
Freedom is nice.
Freedom is nice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that long to do it. It's just it works differently than people think.
Right.
They think they can just drop in and they're going to make what they make right now and passive income. No, 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 no. No,
Well,
it starts out smaller.
people get themselves trapped. They get
Yeah,
themselves trapped. And it's like, okay, there's still a way out. You just have to have a really good plan to get out of it. And that's really what a lot of our sales people, our sales partners like Cam, whom you mentioned, he realized it's like, look, if I follow this and do exactly what is laid out for me, then I can be where I was before in a shorter period of time. Because most
yeah,
people get into deals and they're like, it's like a pat on the back, good luck. The opportunity's there, but you have to figure it out. You know, I think it behooves everyone on the team that share this stuff. Let me show you how to do this to make it easier, and then everybody benefits. It's that old
yeah,
adage that rising tide raises all boats, right? So it's like, all right, well, let's get the information so people on the team know how to do it and do it
yeah,
quickly. You know,
yeah.
so
Well, yeah, it's like going out with a fishing guide. Like if you
yeah,
look back over here, you can't if you just take your boat out there and throw a line in, and then you come back to the boat and you go, there's no fish out there.
right,
But if you go back to if you go out with a guide, he's not going to take you to 90% of the places out there. He's going
right,
to take you just where the fish are. And
right.
so that's where it's nice to have a guide that can show you how to do this. Look, I know. There's all these things that you can do. No, 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 no. Go right there.
Yeah, right.
Right there is
Hmm.
all, and you go, holy cow, there's fish all over the place. No, there's fish right there.
Yeah, right,
Right
right.
there. And so you're right. When people join our team, we go, look, go right there, right there.
Hmm.
That's where the action is. And then, all right, and then over there and there and there. But don't go all these other places. Just go to these spots. And they go,
And we've experienced the fishing. I think is a great analogy because remember we were fishing for those Goliath grouper, and we'd
yeah,
gone out with this guy in this boat, and he's, it's like, where are you going? And he just knew where to go. There was a sunken
yeah,
boat or something underneath,
yeah.
and I
The
remember
barge, big barge
a
out
big
there. Yeah,
barge, and I remember there was like you could see there was nothing, 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 and we got out above this barge, and I put my GoPro in the water underneath so I could see. It was like holy shit, this is all going on underneath us. There's fish
there's a
everywhere.
lot. There
It
were
was
there were
crazy,
sharks. Like he in and he was yeah. There's a lot going on below the surface,
right?
but you got to know where to go to
Right,
look below the surface to see where to know that that's where the action is. Because
right.
on top of the water, it all looks the same. Yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, you need to. It all looks the same. You don't know where to go. So if you know where to go and look and see below the surface, it helps to have a guide. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's if the people on our team, I think they consider us pretty good
Guides.
guides.
Yes.
So next question is, what do you do when you buy a list, are burning through all the leads and getting nowhere?
What do you do if you're burning through all your leads and getting nowhere?
You buy a list,
Uh,
burning through all your leads and getting nowhere.
Well, I
adapt.
guess there's a couple. I think number one, look at your list, right? My guess is whomever's asking this question is probably buying a list of the end user, so to speak, the person that they want to physically sell to. Really, you're having problems with that? Makes sense. I mean, it's what we've been saying for 30 years now. It's like I could see buying a list of potential referrers and work in that angle. But buying a list of the end user, you're just like everybody else. You're pounding the phone, you're doing whatever, you're shoving crap at them. They go, look, you're just one of people respond better if they feel like a connection, right? And that's why we love working with refers and we focus on doing that. And we've done that. We bought a list of people that were potential refers and have structured that, and we're tremendously successful. That's why we're here today. I mean,
Yeah.
it's where you're putting your energy. Don't buy lists of the end user. I would say that's probably a bad investment. So you just got
Yeah.
to change just a little bit of course correction. Yeah, next time you submit the question, it'd be really cool to go, okay, here's who I'm selling, who's a good refer, and how do I handle that? What do I say?
Yeah.
That is where your money is.
And I was just thinking about that too. Like, all right, just going through various things that I've sold growing up. When I was in college, I sold wild rice to chefs,
Right.
and I think how would now that was a little different, though some chefs know chefs. Are they going to? I don't know if they're going to share
Mm-hmm.
me at share my contact information at a fast enough rate to make that make sense.
Right.
And so there, I call the chef, have a conversation, and it's just the conversation. It's just having a good conversation, and uh, but that's also not passive income. That's not the business. I wouldn't go back and be in that business.
Right.
And so that's something too. What are you trying to do here? Like
Mm-hmm.
Chuck said, who are you selling? And so if it was a wild rice game, I'd get out of the wild rice game.
Yeah. Right.
So that's I would do something different where I could make passive income, and so that I can make more and more and more all the time. Wild rice is nice because it's a consumable, but I can only get back to so many chefs every month, getting reorders and that kind of thing. So and that's absolutely not passive. It's just it's recurring sales, which is not passive income. Passive income is you set them up once and they just keep making money. And ideally, it's like a vending machine you never have to fill.
Right.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
utilities. It's like electricity. We do credit card processing. There's phone service. When you pay your phone bill every month. Those are real passive incomes. So I know the question was you're burning through leads. I would say, and if I'm in the right business, I'm absolutely not going to go to the end user. I'm going to go to somebody who can refer me. Uh, unless I'm selling electricity, I'm the only one. Then
Yeah.
they're coming
Right.
to me. So you have to figure out what it is you want. If you're looking for freedom, it's what most people do is polish. They think that they're going to polish the thing that they've got now and turn it into something better. I would say most people, whether you have a regular real job or you're an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur and you're doing whatever it is you're doing, you probably somehow you got there and it wasn't necessarily super intentional. These one thing led to the next, and you went, oh, I can sell my thing like this. And then
Mm-hmm.
you see a different opportunity, and all these dots connect. And it was never really intentional. You just find yourself suddenly, oh yeah, it's just,
Right.
here I am, and I've got this question, and you go, well, and so I would say, just hold on. What do you, where really, when it's all said and done, what do you want in your life resume? And you go, okay, that's the life I want to create. All right. If that's the life I want to create, what kind of work, what kind of, enterprise gets me the time and money
Right.
to have the money to buy the stuff and to buy the experiences and to have the time to have the experiences. So I look at that, the person's question was, I'm buying a list, and I'm burning through leads. Well, hold on. There's just put that off to the side because
Right.
there's a bigger couple questions to ask,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just reverse engineer back to where you are today, and then your next, and then you see your next move, right? And probably your next move isn't even you wouldn't ask that question today. You'd be asking a different
Right.
question.
Right. And I know that, like, for a lot of people, it's like the whole concept is sometimes hard for people to understand, and so they don't know what to say. And that's you got to figure that out. You got to figure out what to say to the refer. That's where that's where the money is. It makes your life
Yeah.
on so many different levels so much easier. So,
Yeah.
stand back, put the list off to the side, figure out what you want to say, what tactic, figure out other stuff first before you want to just
Yeah.
jump on the phone. You got to put a little more thought
Yeah.
into that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, next one here is, does Chamber of Commerce, joining the Chamber of Commerce actually work for you?
No. Well, let's one, no. But let me make sure we understand. What are you trying to do? Because when you go there, it's a very limited
Mm-hmm.
size
Right.
network. And so if you want a massive network where there's a chance, let's say a 0.25% chance that anybody in this network is going to send you business this month, how big do you want your network to be?
Right.
And what do you want to do to get it? So if you go into the Chamber of Commerce, really, really small, and if a fourth of those people,
Mm-hmm.
or 1/4% of those people, there's probably 100 people maybe in your Chamber of Commerce. So that's less than one,
Mm-hmm.
less than one account a month you're going to get. So you're going to get maybe 3 accounts a year from that, maybe. So
Right.
if those numbers are right, but you go, okay, it's 3 accounts a year. If I want 20 accounts a month,
How's that
or
going to work?
240 accounts a year, then I need a huge network. And so going to the Chamber of Commerce, and you've got to go to the meetings, and you've got to do all these things. Otherwise,
Big
they're not
time
going to think you're a good
investment.
chamber member, and
Big
they're not
time
right.
investment.
It's like, God, I'm going to have to drive over there. I don't want to do that. I want to be in Ireland. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be I want
Mm-hmm.
to be in a different state. I want to be here. I don't want to be at a chamber meeting where you have to
Mm-hmm.
go and you've got to schmooze, and because that's the protocol there. That's how they
Mm-hmm.
figure that you're a good person and they want to refer things to you. I want a big network that I can make my calls from here, wherever they lead me, anywhere in the country, and build it huge so that they call me right here and I
Right.
can do most everything I need from right here
Mm-hmm.
or any other place in the world that's where I want to be.
100%.
That makes sense?
Yeah, you got to think.
It-
It's it's almost like thinking globally, right? I mean, in our
yeah,
business, we have to think within the confines of U.S. banking laws, and we have to deal
yeah.
here. But
We
I
have to
mean,
be
we
in the
have
United. Yeah, our clients have to be in the U.S. We
right,
don't. We don't.
right. We don't though, right? That's the thing. It's like you gotta open a little bit to really
Yeah,
make this work for you. You can't be as narrow minded as just like, well, the chamber
yeah,
or my what is it, international business meeting, whatever the heck it is. Those things, I've never known anyone that's made a living by doing it that way.
no,
I mean, it's
no. You might be able to go and get. It's just what are you trying to achieve?
right. Yeah.
Back to I want 40. As my numbers worked out with
Right.
how well I can sell and that kind of thing. I needed 40 leads a month to call me, which
Right.
means I needed thousands of connections at let's whatever the numbers were. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
1/4 of 1%. I need a lot of connections. And then so I have as many inbound calls, and sometimes there's not that many people in your town, you
Right.
know,
Well,
and
hey,
so
one of our
if I
biggest sales partners that's written 1,200 accounts. How many people in the town in which he lives in?
9,000.
9,000, and he's written over 1,200 accounts. You know, there's no humanly way possible that those 1,200 accounts are in his town, because 1,200,
No,
10% of people aren't business owners. It just doesn't work. So, but he's been able to follow the model, do the things exactly what we're talking about right here. And the guy's he's probably one of the wealthier guys in town at this point,
and
because
nobody knows it.
and no one knows it. You know what I mean? He's
That's
kind of just this low key dude, but he
yeah,
makes a ton of money. I mean, $300,000-$400,000 a year kind of money with
yeah. There's
very
nobody in that town that makes.
no, and it's
I
very
mean,
minimal effort. He puts in maybe 2-3 hours a week. So it's
yeah.
like,
Let's say he even works a full day a week, spread across a
okay, all
week.
right, yeah, over the week,
Maybe,
maybe 2 hours a
maybe,
day.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe 2 hours a day.
that's a damn
Yeah,
good return on your investment. You go sit
yeah,
at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and having the breakfast at 7 a.m. and then you listen to all this stuff going on. You want to poke your eyes out and let your hair on fire and run in traffic.
Yeah. You
No
just can't do it.
thanks.
You can't, and that's usually people think when they think of your network, they think, oh, I think of the people in my town. I would think absolutely not the people in my town. If
Right.
some of them happen to be in my town, God bless us, everyone. But like you said earlier, Chuck, think globally. And I think depending on what you're selling, depending on what you're doing, your business, yeah, I think, you know, and the interesting thing is, whatever you want to accomplish, all the network is there. There's
Right.
8 billion people in the world. So the thing is, whatever it is you want to have them send to you, you just need to connect the dots. They're all there. All you need to do is connect them. So it's a time making the connection
Right.
in the best way you can at the moment, and just get better over time. Or if you don't need to get better over time, God bless you. Just but build it. It's already all there, and you have no idea who they are. But they're all there, and you can start making connections with people that you know. No, start connect because what's that old say? You're 6, 7, 8 degrees of separation from
Yeah.
everybody in the world.
Hmm.
Well, call the people that you know and have them start connecting you. It doesn't take long, and you've got all the people you need sending you all the business that you need. But it's totally not the way that they teach us to do it. The world, the business school doesn't teach you this. This is your route. This is and I should say, let's not blame business school. It's just how we've been taught to think and how we do think.
Right.
If they get involved with us doing a credit card processing, they think, oh, I'm going to drive around town. And it's like, no, you don't have to drive anywhere. You can just start making connections, and it'll take you all over the country. And that's where your business will come from too. And so, let's say California breaks off and floats out to sea. Well, that's too bad. But I still have all the other 49 states that can send me
Right.
business. If all the
Right.
West Coast fell off, I still have 47 other states that are sending me
Right.
business.
Yeah. Think out. Think global.
Yeah. And it's so interesting too to put it together. You have no idea. It's like a game. Like I have no idea. It's like the unknown connection. Again, they're all there. You just need to connect them. And then where your phone rings and somebody goes, oh, and it's just totally unexpected. Oh, and it's kind of fun.
It's a lot of
All right,
fun.
next question here is, do I need to raise money to start a business?
I think a lot of you ever see Shark Tank? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'd go about it. Let's go about it a little bit differently. I would say one, no, you don't. Typically, you don't. Depends what you're trying to build, and it depends what you want to build. And so I would rather there's I think of it like this. I think there's resources and there's resourcefulness. If you I would rather build something with sweat equity and my wits and my resourcefulness, and then I don't have any partners. I don't have anybody in bed with me that thinks they want to have a big return on investment,
Mhm.
making, not doing any of the work. They put up the money, and I just don't. I would rather not do those deals. And if you look online or anywhere, and one of the top things when people they go, well, what do you need to do to start a business? Well, you need to go out and get money. No, you don't need to go out and get money.
Mhm.
What you need to do is be resourceful. Depends what kind of business that you're starting. If you're building a factory, you probably might need a couple extra bucks, here or there. But like when I kind of like things with low overhead, fewer moving parts. People think that to make a lot of money, I don't think people think. A lot of people seem to think that to make a lot of money, you have to have something massive. You've got to have all those, 1,000 employees and
Right.
locations and 16 places, and you don't. If you do something where like what we do is credit card processing, you can just be sitting here with a phone and a pen and just making a lot of connections, and it costs you. You have a computer, a pen, and your phone bill, and of course a couple other little expenses, a printer, some things like that. But with that, we've created a lot of wealth and a lot of freedom along the way. I remember I'd known this guy for years, and because he didn't see that I got 6 restaurants around town, he goes, "Oh, we met somewhere. I don't remember what the car." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you did this stuff. I didn't know any of these things. I just thought you kind of worked at home. It's like doing not much and not creating much." And no, 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 no. And he's like, "Wow, I had no
Right.
idea." But most people think that again, you've got to have six. If you have 6 restaurants around town, that's a big deal. You must be rolling. And you go, I don't want 6
Mhm.
restaurants around town. You know how many people that takes, and
Mhm.
and fire codes and stuff that goes haywire, and people don't show up, and you've got to go, put an apron on and flip, steaks, burgers, lobsters, whatever I don't want that stuff. Man, I want to be able to be nimble and quick.
Mhm.
I'd rather use my resourcefulness and create something that gives me freedom than have somebody else's resources that change me down.
Yeah, and raising money and having that kind of partner that comes in with just money, they want a big payout for
Yeah,
that.
you don't.
Be
I would rather
resourceful.
not have
Use
that. I
resourcefulness.
did that one time a long time ago, and
Right. Me too.
they kick money in, but they don't do any work, and they want a return on their investment. And you're going, okay,
Yeah.
you wish you wouldn't have, and it wasn't that much
Right.
money, but it was a hassle. Now you've got to, it was just a hassle working with them, and I was happy to uh,
Mhm.
pay them back and just go, look, I'll give you money back. I don't want to.
Mhm.
I don't want to. I can't do this. So I told them, I go, look, I'll give you money back, or I'm just going to stop and you're going to lose everything. What do you prefer? And I want my money back. Yeah, don't. It's something I'd steer clear of as absolutely much as possible. I'd rather have resourcefulness and also when you're using resourcefulness, you learn new things because you go, all right, how do I do this without having to have that? How can I be resourceful and clever, and how can I find new ways? How fast can I find new ways, and probably end up innovating and
Right.
then you innovate ways, and then you look back after you've done all that stuff to the time when you go, oh my God, I almost brought on this big partner, and I thank God I didn't do that. I wouldn't have not been able to do all these things, all these freedom sort of things that and been innovative and figured out new ways. And that feels good to come up with new ways that work. And you go, man, that it feels good to it feels good to create new ways and it's not just create new ways. It's like, it feels good to be resourceful. Let's say that. It feels a lot better to be resourceful, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is. It feels so much better to be resourceful than to rely on resources. Resources cost
Yeah.
a lot of money. Resourcefulness costs almost nothing. And you build confidence and independence and self-reliance.
That's why passive income deals are a lot easier too. Because when you
Yeah,
do want to expand, you already have cash flow. Like it's there. Because bottom line, what happens when you expand or you kind of get into little different parts of business growth, what got you to that point, your attention shifts a little bit, right? So maybe you're not acquiring as many new accounts as you were because you're trying to build something for the next level. Well, if you don't have that passive income stream coming
yeah.
in, it's
It's
really hard to grow. It's super hard to grow because you have to
right,
absorb it all
right.
to pay your bills, to live. So like when is it time to expand? You can clearly look at, okay, my passive income has finally met the point where it covers all my living expenses. So you have choices to make. I'm financially free, or do I want to grow this to another level, or just keep going where I'm going? But passive income, I can't stress enough how that
Holy cow.
much of a
Well,
game
look
changer
at
having passive
right
income
here where I'm sitting.
is huge.
This is not home, and it's Chuck is sitting at our
Right.
office in Minnesota, and I'm at a place that
Right.
I bought with extra passive income. you know, and this is where when I'm in Florida, this is
Right.
where I
Yeah.
work, is here. And actually, there's a place right next door uh, that I bought both of these places, and it was because I had extra passive income. So Chuck's like, it's okay. If this is zero and this is passive income and this is these are my bills. And so once I get past here, okay, I make enough where I can buy one of these places and maybe I rent it out. You get into rental real estate, like the one next door is a vacation rental. This one was until my wife said, "Oh, you know what? This is really kind of nice. Maybe we should keep this for ourselves." And I said, "No, no, no. This is a business deal. You don't understand." And then of course she said that
Yeah, right.
ultimately what happened is
Ultimately,
this is
what
not
happened?
a rental
It's a place
anymore.
for
This
yourself.
this is where I end
Yeah,
up working.
exactly.
So, but that's what you can do with passive income. And so if you don't have a
It-
renter, like if you just have a job and you somehow scrape up enough money for a down payment on a piece of real estate that you rent, and then you don't rent it, well, now you're upside down and you're in trouble. With this situation, if it doesn't rent, that's a bummer, but I have enough passive income to cover all my bills plus the mortgage on that place. So passive
Right.
income is nice, and you get free, and then you can add more things. It's an interesting game.
All right, next question here is how do people make 50 plus cold calls a day
I would
without
say
losing their
it
minds?
depends who you're calling. Uh, if you're like we're talking
Right.
earlier, if you call the end user, like if we're in the credit card processing business, if I called merchants, 50 merchants a day, it would drive me to drinking really early in the morning, or slashing my wrists and
Mhm.
bleeding out under my desk or something. It's horrible, horrible. But when you call
Right.
people who can recommend, if you're just building your massive referral network and letting those people send you business, your cold calls are they're friendly. They're easy, they're friendly. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're just
Right.
making a connection. They're appreciative that you're not trying to sell them something. So they're like relieved. And so the call is better. And
Right.
they still want to get you off the phone because they have better things to
Hmm.
do at this moment than to hang out with you. But you're not pushing them into a corner, or trying to sell them or anything like that. You're just making a connection and talking about the benefit of this connection. Uh, and so it's who you're calling. Yeah. Imagine calling 50 friendly people. Could you do that? Yeah. Now imagine what it feels like to call
Sure.
50 50 merchants who get 8 of these calls a day. Yeah. Would you like to do that? No. It's so you can imagine it gets horrible really fast,
No.
or it's more of a game. If you're just building a massive referral network, then it's like how many? If I could have, uh, and you do want to make that many calls for sure, but they're to friendly. It's to build connections, not to make sales, and which is
Well, and the other
no,
way is
no,
not
not
sustainable. Yeah, I mean, you
no,
can't
it's no.
you can't do that. I mean, what are you going to do? Eventually, you're going to call everybody. Then what do? You start over and call everybody again.
Yeah.
You
And,
know,
and people do
it
it.
doesn't
They
work.
just call and call and
Doesn't
call
work.
and call and call. And it, you're not going to get it's I should say you're not going to get free. I don't know. That doesn't because freedom, I think most people misconstrue freedom. They think, "Oh, I'm going to make a whole bunch of money and I'm going to retire and then I'm going to be free." You go, "Well, but freedom is let's put side by side cold calls to people who want to see you die in a fiery car accident, or people go, oh, well, that's interesting. You know, um,
Right.
there's freedom in building a network because my calls, the conversations I have, feel good as opposed to feel difficult, and the person on the other end of the phone doesn't doesn't want to talk. They'll hang up, they'll scream at you, they'll do all these things. That doesn't feel free. Building a massive referral network, taking inbound calls
Right.
and making sales from wherever at the beach, that feels free. Even if I wasn't making sales at the beach, if I'm sitting at the beach doing cold calls to merchants, that'd be horrible. But if I'm sitting at the beach making cold calls to people who can refer me business, and it's a logical, decent conversation that I'm not trying to sell anything, and they're not being angry that I rang their phone. That there's a real different feel in it. It's got the
Right.
essence of feeling free. It just feels better. I'd rather, part of freedom to me is doing something that's a lot more enjoyable than something that I hate. And most people spend their life, 80% of people in America don't like their jobs. Well, you can see it after COVID. Still, nobody wants to go back. There's a good indication they didn't like their job in the first place,
Right.
So, so they don't want to go back to that old, they don't want to
Right.
do, whether it's making cold calls or doing whatever their work is, it doesn't feel free to them. There's no essence of, doesn't lift their heart. It doesn't make them feel good in most any sort of way. Or you hear it like, I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Well,
That
and,
doesn't fit.
well, and you and I had this conversation a few weeks ago. We were talking about, like retirement. It's like, look, I'm in my 50s. John's in his 30s. Um, no, but you think about that, and it's like, I don't ever really see like, it's like I'm almost
Yeah.
like semi-retired now. It feels that way. It's like, why would I ever like retire? I still do all the things that retired people do. I travel. I'm going to Cabo next week. Next year, I'm going to Africa for 2 weeks. I'm doing the same thing. Yeah, I'm accessible when I'm there, but I could always be doing that. And I'm accessible, and I built it where people call me and things kind of move on. Most guys that live the life of sales, especially, or building a business, retirement is like the killer, because once they retire and they have nothing going on, I mean, how many guys have I heard about
Yeah.
that they retire and they're like
Or
absolutely
they
miserable?
die.
It's like,
You
I'd rather
know,
be
they
semi-retired in
never
my
did all these
professional
things
life,
while they
where
were
they die.
working, and then they
It's like, man,
retire and
no.
they're dead, and they
Yes.
die, or they die right before. Oh, when
No.
I retire, when I'm done with this
Li-
job I never really liked anyway, that I did for the best years of my life. They're killing themselves
Right.
every day. That every moment that they're doing something that
Right.
it makes it, it's I
Mhm.
think they really are. I think they're killing themselves doing things that they hate. And
Yep.
we'd all live a lot longer if we did things we enjoyed.
No way, man.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, my brother-in-law had a buddy that retired on Wednesday, and his retirement party was that Friday. He died on Thursday. And it's like, man, I don't want that, because it was just stressful gig. It was so stressful his whole life. He was just under this pressure cooker. And I'm sure when he let go and he finally retired, he's my last
Yeah.
day. He was like, oh, I'm sure his body
Yeah.
just went like, what the hell's going on? You're not used to this. You can't handle this. It's like, no. Live your life
Yeah.
calmer,
But at least not
less
as angry
chaotic. Make
you
good
know,
moves.
it's like
So
resentful. I think people resent their
yeah,
jobs. Most 80, if you don't like your, if 80, if you don't like your job,
me too.
you got to somehow resent it because it keeps you from doing the things that you really want to do. And then later, on your deathbed, the number one regret
Right.
of the dying is I spent too much time at the office. No, you spent too much time doing things that you
Yep.
regret, that you didn't enjoy. You didn't take the time to stop. Well, I had bills to pay. Okay, well, that, I had to pay those bills. Okay, yeah, but you're
Yeah.
you're
Don't
dead
we
now,
all?
or you're dying with regret. It's like, you want to die with
Yeah.
regret, or you want to take a moment and go,
Yeah.
okay, I know I've got to pay the bills, but ask yourself. I'll start asking a little more clever questions, right? You don't assume that how everybody says that it works is the way it works, because it is, if that's the life you want to live. But if you want to do the things like Chuck was talking about, I'm gonna, I'm still working. I'm going to Africa for 2 weeks. I'm going to Cabo for a week. I'm gonna, how can you do these things that you love to do while you work and make the money
Mhm.
and have the time, doing something that makes you more excited. It's still,
Right.
it's not all roses. Not like, people go, well, if you do what you love to do, you never work another day in your life. Bullshit. You still, it's
Yeah.
still, you're still working, but it's like,
Still working.
I can handle a challenge. And especially if it's a challenge, if there's,
Mhm.
if it's a, there's a saying, I can handle a challenge. What I can't handle is not living my dream. So how do you just have to ask questions. You've got to see from different vantage points until you can see how to make it work. And then, or even like
Right.
get a toe hold, a foothold, and then you get in, you go, okay, that didn't quite work the way I expected, which it never does. But now I can start adapting from there, and I
Hmm.
can figure out how to make it work.
Right.
Uh, but I got to pay those bills, and
Right.
then but
Oh,
yeah, you just have to ask a little different question. And I don't know what that question is. You've got to figure out the question that you need to ask to start unlocking the life that you want
right.
to live.
Well, and I think, you gotta, you surround yourself or you talk with people that you can reason things out, right? Like you can like sit down and how many times have we talked to new sales partners and they operated one way and now they operate a completely different way and they're free. And
Yeah.
and some of them are
Yeah.
hard headed. It takes
Yeah.
time. It takes time to get them to switch. But once they do, I think every sales partner has come back to us, and or at least I've had conversations with them. I know you've had a lot that have said, "Man, what a totally different way to live my life. I have
Yeah.
less stress. My blood pressure's down." I mean, it's
Yeah.
even you owe it to
Yeah.
yourself to do it the right way for your health. It's not
Yeah.
just wanting the fun things and traveling and driving cool cars and living in cool zip codes.
Yeah.
It's about being healthy and just living a good
Yeah.
life. And that's what
Yeah.
freedom is.
All right, next question here is what's the right way to ask for referrals from customers?
Right.
Well, I guess it depends on what you're selling and how you got. I mean, that I was questions are always so interesting. And I love them. I love the questions because it's kind of like you call an electrician and go, "Hey, I just got my house frame. I'm going to start wiring the house. What do I do?" It's like, well, dude, there's a lot to that. It depends on what you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish. Number one is just show up and ask. If you just ask, even if it's horseshit, right? Like, hey, do you know anybody else that I could help out? Start there, and then start like paying attention, like being present, and see what the responses are, and then it gets smoother over time. Because what we say, like
Yeah.
90% of salespeople don't even ask for referral. So just by showing up, you're going to be ahead of the game. Just ask. I don't know. Just ask. I always like to say, hey, you know what? Super glad we can do business together, man. This is going to be great. And you kind of recap your deal a little bit and go, let me ask you, do you know anybody else that kind of fits our vibe and that I could help out too? It just depends on how the whole thing unfolds. But just ask. Even if it feels awkward, even if you're not sure, just ask, because then you're ahead of 90% of your competition. You're ahead
might
of
have
90% of everybody
conversation.
else.
They might go, I don't know. You know what? It depends. At least they'll either say
Right.
yes, no. They might ask you a clarifying question. Well, what do you mean? And then you can at least have a conversation. Like
Mhm.
Chuck said, it just ask. The couple of things that we've done is we go, okay, how do I make
Right.
it easier? Because Chuck uses a statistic that 90% of
Mhm.
salespeople don't ask, and um, and so because it's they've run across so many awkward situations where they go, people go no, or in their mind they go, well, they're just going to say no anyway, or I'm not sure how to ask, and so they don't ask. So we thought, okay, that happens, so we can say just ask, and people may or may maybe now 80% won't ask. We've doubled our we've
Right.
doubled the number of people who are asking, but still 80% don't ask. So how do we make it even easier? So what we do is we do a couple things. One is you go, okay, how can I invent a referral program that's easy for me, just to, instead of going, hey, you can say, hey, we've got this referral program, and you can show them what it is, and they go, oh, okay, and maybe they have somebody for you right there. Like, we have a thing called the Give Back. So when we're making a sale, we go, hey, we've got the program called the Give Back. Part of the fee that you already paid doesn't cost more. It goes to an organization that you care about. Who would you like to donate to? And they say, oh,
Right.
feral cats of of the beach. You go, okay. Who else do you know that would like to give to feral cats at the
Phoenix.
beach? They go, oh, you know what? All the people in my feral cats at the beach club. Go, how many is that? Oh, 27. Oh, okay. So now I've got 27 people to call right away. So it's a different thing. I'm not saying, hey, who wants credit card
Right.
processing? I'm saying who wants to help feral cats. And it's a whole different so it's easier. It's so much easier and you get so much more out of it. The other thing that we
Hmm.
do is just keep in contact with everybody. And so we'll send them a little story every month, in their email. We don't send newsletters, we don't send salesy stuff. We'll send them a little story. Here's something we came across. And it's just a short story. I came
Right.
across another one of these the other day too. It was in real estate, and it was a realtor's website. And I looked at two realtors' websites the other day. One of them said, as you know, how people say, well, as a realtor, my interest is da 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 da, and I go, I don't. That's not very interesting. But the other one said, here's the situation. You know,
Mhm.
Jim and Christina had were looking for this sort of situation. They were running around. They found this and that and the other thing is like, oh, this kind of an interesting little story. And it was about, wasn't very
Mhm.
long. But one was just absolutely not interesting. As a realtor of 21 years in Spirit Lake, Iowa, da da da, or whatever, my interest is your interest.
Yeah, wherever.
Okay, but the other one, I read it. I went, oh, that was
Mhm.
interesting, and I thought I just read that whole thing, and I actually thought it was okay. So we do that kind of thing. Just send little stories, of situations, of deals, of things that in the
Mhm.
business that they're in, and they're entrepreneurs. They're all interested in how things work. So if you go,
And ask a vendor, like, hey, who do you get your? You've done this, I've done this. Who do you get your tablecloths from? Or like who does your line? Whatever. Ask for. We're in the credit card processing business, so our the types of clients we can deal with is pretty wide open. Anybody that takes credit cards, so it's a lot easier. I've also asked when I've been in a retail or a physical situation with the merchant where I'm there. I always go, hey, who's the guy that owns that Midas muffler across the street? Oh, that's Tom. Oh, you mind if I stop by and let him know that I helped you out and talk? There's a lot of ways to situate them, but John's exactly right on the continuous contact with them. Write things they'll be interested in.
yeah,
They don't want to hear about you. They
they
want to hear
do
about
not care
stories.
about you.
They don't
They
care
they
about you. They care about
Yeah,
stories.
and
Yeah,
yeah, but they care about your little story, especially if it's not about you. Oh, I had such fun at
right,
the Renaissance Festival. I don't
right,
care. But if you told me a story about, I slipped in the mud at the
right.
Renaissance Festival, and it's something that engages with them, and they're human,
Hmm.
and they're in business in this scenario, or it's just something. It's got to be a little more interesting. More of a human interest story, a deal story, something like, or Chuck used, like electrician. You know,
Right.
let's say the electrician took a picture of something and said, "Oh boy, I showed up and this is what it looked like." They wanted this. I understand. Well, we ended up getting this, and here's what it ended up looking
Right.
like when I was done. Yeah, here or before and after, something that engages them in a way that they find interesting, not salesy, not about you. So that's ongoing, not salesy, not about you. Story that engages with them. And the other thing is, if you can figure out a referral program that's uh, opens up a different psychology, not, hey, who else do you know that wants credit card processing?
Right.
Hey, who else do you know that
Yeah.
needs a good realtor? I don't know. There's a different way of figure out a different way to ask that where it feels comfortable for you, so you'll actually say it.
All right, next question is why does my CRM feel like a full-time
Because you're
job?
wrestling with it. That it's not working for you. Yeah, I think that we've ran across that same thing, and we had, because one of the things that CRMs don't have is a really good system. Like, if it has any system whatsoever, oh yeah, our CRM works on AI. Okay, well, what that tells me is that it's going to work like it's not going to work for me. It's you need to have you have to have a system that works really well to get business, and then you put the system, you make the CRM work to your system. But most CRMs don't do that. They just sort of, there is no system, or they've got a system that doesn't really work. It just sounds really good in advertising. And it's what you hope that would work. Oh, well, our CRM gets you leads, while you sleep. No, okay, but they're going to be crappy. So it's just like when you develop CRM's a software. And when you develop any sort of software, it's always better to do it on paper first to understand how it works, and then you make it electronic. If you go the other way,
Yep.
it's probably not going to work because there's no good system. So most people spend money on a CRM. And most people who should use a CRM absolutely don't, or they don't use it the right way. They use it like a calendar. They have, oh, I put all these people in my calendar, and then I have a list of
Yeah.
whomever's, and but there's no system to it. They put everybody in their calendar when they shouldn't, and then they're gone for a
Right.
week, and they open it back up, and there's 9,000 things you're supposed to do today. It takes them all day to redo that. So we came up with our own system over time that really works well, and then tried to showed that to people, tech people at the CRM companies. None of them could make it work, and so we paid a lot of money. We paid literally a couple $100,000 for these things over time. It never worked, so we ended up creating our own, and we limit it. CRM. You see CRM usually, like when you're looking to buy it, it's got a feature list, and the longer the feature list, the better you think it is. It's the opposite. You want it to have as few features as possible, but it's the ones that work. You know, CRM, some people think CRM, man, it needs to do 4,000 different things. No, it needs to do about four things really well that's in the system, and then you run it 1,000 times, and now you're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
No,
bloat is not
bloat's
good
rarely
when
good.
it comes to your CRM.
you know,
That's where you're.
would you rather be walking
Yeah,
down
yeah,
the beach
true.
bloated or not? Would you rather
Right.
wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, "Boy, I look
Good
bloated.
point.
That's
Solid
nice."
point.
But that's what most CRM is, just
Yeah.
bloated. And it
Yeah.
sounds good. It sounds attractive, like all these different things.
Yeah.
But I dare you to figure out how to make any of those work. And also, you don't want to try to make those work because those probably aren't part of the system that's ever going to work right anyway. But it keeps you occupied paying your
Right.
monthly fee on the
Right.
CRM. Oh, I'm going to chase this, chase that, try to connect this, try to connect that. Meanwhile, you're not making any money, and you're trying to figure out these things that you shouldn't be figuring out anyway. Yeah, it's complicated. You said, why does it feel like you're wrestling with it? Because that's why you really are. Yeah.
All right, next one is how do I stop competing on price?
Well, how you stop competing on prices is give more value. Uh, and what does that mean? And you don't know what people value until you ask them. And so part of what we talk about a lot is we ask them what they're looking for. What are you looking for? How'd you get into this business? You're creating a relationship. At
Mhm.
the same time, you're finding out what they need. They appreciate it. They see value in that because you're
Yep.
starting to understand what it is that they want rather than just trying to sell them something, which is, what most people in sales do is they try to sell you something rather than help understand what it is you really want, and then working together to get you what you really need.
And I think and again, it depends on what you're selling, right? I had a buddy that used to manage a handful of restaurants, and they were like teppanyaki restaurants. So it was Japanese food, and he was literally just telling me a story about buying chopsticks, right? And I go, well, I guess I never thought of that. You got to buy your chopsticks somewhere. And he goes, yeah. He goes, oddly enough, the company that I bought from was in Minnesota because they delivered on time. Where like other companies that he dealt with, they were less expensive, but half the time they ran out of chopsticks, and it's
Yeah.
that's not the vibe of a Japanese restaurant, dude. The vibe of a Japanese restaurant, teppanyakis, you're there eating with chopstick. So it didn't matter that they were like 1/10 of a cent cheaper because they buy it such quantities. He goes, I paid the extra 1/10 of a percent or a penny or whatever it was because I never ran out. It was always there, customer service. So, one of the things that I always like to ask whenever I'm selling to someone in our business, credit card processing, what's important to you, Mr. and Mrs. Merchant? Like, oh, and they'll tell you like,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times they'll go, well, I'm happy with what I got or whatever. And you go, why are you happy with them? Service. Okay, great. Now my conversation is about
Or
service, not so
equipment
much
or
about
whatever.
price.
It's yeah.
So
Once
you
yeah.
gotta, or whatever it is. Yeah. But if your conversation's all about price, you're not doing your job, dude. And you gotta you almost have to break the customers, like their thought process regarding this, because they'll come at you, especially when it's a buyer and it's not the guy that's got real skin in the game. Because the guy that really has skin in the game says, I have a lot of things going on in my world, right? And I just talked to an optometrist this morning, 3 accounts. I'm helping one of our new sales partners out. They have 3 accounts. And her concern was easeability. We never even talked price. It was all about, can you do this for me? Oh, sure. So send over your information and I can put this together for you. She didn't ask about price at all. She only asked about how things worked logistically. And that's your favorite type of customer, because once you build that value and how things work logistically and it meets their needs, price is less. I mean, if you come in and you're way out of line, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't need to be way out of line. I just need to be slightly, I need to build enough value to where whatever I'm charging her, she's
Right.
going,
Yeah.
I'd pay twice that, or I'd pay 10% more, because what you're bringing to the table, and really when you think about it in the scheme of things too, if it's easy working with you, people pay for that. Man, it's super easy. I just call John. I just need to nod when I see him. Everything's done how I want it. I will pay for that because it frees me up to go do other things that way increase my business more
Yeah.
than spending $100 more on this order. I can go out and make $10,000 more and spend 100 more here because you've made it easy for me. That's value. You got to make it easy. Make it easy for them
Yep.
to do business with you,
And
and they will pay
it
more.
reminds me, I've
It's just the way it
landed
is.
53 newspaper locations across North Dakota, Minnesota,
Oh, yeah, I
Wisconsin,
remember
and
that.
Michigan, Ohio, down into Texas. Uh, and so it was also a relatively new sales agent. And I go, all right, just hold on a second, because they don't know what to say. So I said, just get us on a conference call
Right,
with so you
right.
can be there. Just don't say anything. Just introduce me and be quiet. And so we talked about, so
Right.
it was her, me, the CFO, and the head bookkeeper. And in the conversation, yada yada yada. And I go, well, what are you looking for? And they had 3 things. One is that they said we have all 53 locations, and it takes us so long because all of the statement formats are different. Because in every town we've got a different bank, credit card processing company. It takes us so long just to figure out
Mhm.
what's going on with all these 53. So if you can have the format of all 53 locations exactly the same, that would save us a lot of time. Um, yeah, what's the time worth? Because
What's that
they
time
had
worth?
people in the accounting department just trying to decipher this stuff every month, just going through all these 53. It took them about all month long just to figure out these 53 statements for like one salary. So which is obviously very expensive. The second thing is they wanted all the equipment to work the same. So because we have different, people come and go at these newspapers. The people that are billing, that are punching in the credit card information.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 53 locations and in about 20 different kind of credit card terminals. So when somebody new comes on, or a new manager, nobody knows how to use the credit card terminal. And they said, oh, also when
Right.
we needed a code before we give somebody a credit, we need a manager to enter a code because they've had people stealing, like running credits on their own cards. And I go, okay. And I go, okay, so if we can
Right.
do that, we can then move forward then. And they're going, yeah. And then the CFO said, oh, and we don't want to pay a fortune. We don't want to pay a fortune to be able to do all this stuff. So he was assuming all this is going to cost more.
Right.
Yeah. And
You know, cost way more. Exactly.
Right.
And then when you came in reasonable,
Right. And I said, well,
it was
probably,
a
you know,
shoe-in.
and we can probably do it for, you know, what you're paying now to have all those things done. And with the money that you're saving in all these other areas, you know, we can, you know, you can get this, whatever terminal you want to match all the other ones. And so that's what we
Right.
did. And we landed 53 of them. And the salesperson afterwards were like, I had no idea. I would have never gone down that road. But, you know, it was creating, it was understanding, you create value by understanding what they want and really genuinely understanding what it is they want. Not just, okay,
Mhm.
well, and then still going back to whatever your same old sales spiel is. Yeah, it's really understanding. Value is just really understanding and being able to,
And you know,
you know, ask the right questions. Because, you know, somebody's asking you the right questions. Do you feel like that's a valuable conversation? Yeah. And you,
absolutely. And I love that. I remember when that all went down and you were putting that deal together. And, you know, whether you accept the Freedom Challenge and go out and start your own kind of deal or whatever you're doing, but people that join our team and get on the Freedom Challenge here, they're that's one of the things that they always comment on too. It's
Yeah.
like, I would have never seen that. Like I would have just totally missed the boat on that. I would have just,
yeah,
you know, I'd have gone in there pitching price or I'd have gone in there doing this. But when you do something, when you're working with people that have over 100 years combined experience in this deal, you're working with people that recognize and know how to build that value for you. And that's the difference between being like a D1 player and a professional athlete. It's just the
yeah.
smallest little
It's
thing,
like
but it means
recognizing. Yeah,
this.
you
I mean, it
recognize,
just,
go, hold on.
it's a big
Hold on,
difference.
hold on.
Yeah.
That's not what it looks like.
Right.
It's not quite what it looks like. It's something different. Let me show you how. And then, there's a real value in working with people who can recognize that. And when you're on our team, yeah, we recognize
Yeah.
more of that than we miss.